Well, hi there. My name's Jerry Bleeker, and this is my third video in a series of video blogs that I'm using to reflect on how I'm doing my flipped Biology 11 classroom. Now, this flipped Biology 11 classroom I call eCampusLive, and I've chosen to call it eCampusLive because there's lots of digital elements and there's a lot that we do on campus, including research. We can't do all the research from home due to bandwidth issues. Some students literally don't get Wi-Fi out of town. So we run a variation of the flipped classroom. And again, I call that eCampus Live. So in this portion, we'll dedicate the video and sort of our discussions here to bring your own technology slash bring your own device sort of update. And the idea is to talk one in part about devices and how this has been working out and challenges, limitations, where we'd like to go. And part two is sort of, it's all about bandwidth. I can't really put it any other way. And just the imperativeness of bandwidth and what that does for the class. So I'll get going. So if you go to College Heights Secondary School, you can search us on the web. You'll come here, and eCampus Live lives down here. You give that a little click-a-rooney, you can end up going to the eCampus Live Biology 11 class. Now, this is hosted in Moodle, and it's a nice style sheet. I don't mind it. I had thought at times of doing my course site on WordPress or maybe Weebly, or I'm quite proficient when it comes to designing web pages myself, so I could have just designed it myself. But there's really great aspects to using Moodle. There's a lot of course elements you can snap into place. This turned out to be a really great fit. And I've been happy, and I've been working with Moodle for the better part of 5 years. So I want to get into devices. I want to talk a little bit about that. Now, in a bring your own device classroom, this is largely what I see. The students are coming in, there are iPads, there's um, all sorts of laptops. Some kids can come in with an iPod Touch, and I'm seeing a huge variety of things. I've been pretty impressed. I've seen this Android tablet do great work in my classroom. I've seen iPhones and iPod Touches with everything that they have to offer, with taking pictures, screen recording, app capabilities, etc., doing great jobs. And I haven't focused on teaching with apps as an educator. Um, Student devices vary quite a bit. And what we're using them for in the classroom is a lot of synthesis. A lot of kids will take pictures and will use those pictures in reports. They'll use their devices to access Google Documents, if that's what they choose to do. They'll use their devices to take in YouTube videos with all my lesson content. So they can be transmission devices where they're taking in information, but they can also be constructive devices. I've seen a great deal of these where the students have a nice little case with a little Bluetooth keyboard, and that's worked out quite well. In the case of this tablet here, for example, one student in particular types away right on the glass and does a great job, and never seemingly complains. I've got a couple little Bluetooth keyboards that I offer, and the student says, "No, that's okay, Mr. B. I'm fine. I'll just go with it." So I always find that kind of impressive. Myself, oops, where is mine? There we go. I'll move this over. Should be in order. This is basically what my baby looks like. I like a MacBook Pro. And what's really neat is I can put it into guest mode for my students. Yes, I let my students use my own technology. I put it in guest mode, and when they're done, it logs out and deletes all files. They're on a public network at the school, so they can use this, do their work, save it to wherever they're going to save it, memory stick. If they're choosing to save it online, that's up to them. I leave that to them. And then when all is said and done, when it logs out, I just take my computer and I'm on my merry way. And it's kind of interesting. I've had some colleagues say, "Aren't you afraid? What if it broke, etc." It sits flat on the table, and my expectation is don't move it. And I'm pretty happy about that. So when you look at a bring your own technology, bring your own device classroom, this is what you see. You see paper, you see devices, you see people working, and it was interesting in my Masters of Education Technology program through UBC, the MET program, little plug for the MET program, but hey, I owe them. It was a great program. And we talked a lot about a bring your own device strategy, and there was this topic about bridging the digital divide. Can we supply tablets for students in school, or even smaller devices, so that we'd have something on hand? And I have to admit, I'm supplementing with my own technology. At times, I'll say use my iPad. At other times, I'll say go ahead and use my MacBook, my teacher computer at the front of the room, supplied by the district, I can log out of, and I could say, hey, there's a computer right there. My setup in the classroom is largely like this, except I sort of have it's a biology laboratory with sort of long black tables, but I have a good projector and a nice set of speakers. The speakers are kind of leftovers from what I had with one of my old computer systems. It's a nice 5-speaker system, and I can really crank up the volume. And we're able to access this and do really good work. The volume's good. We can share information readily. I've got a color printer. A colleague had this. It's a little older, but it's an older HP model. But since I'm on what they call the public side of the network, I plug in, and if any printing needs to be done. What is quite neat about that is that, pull this over, there we go. I use a little piece of technology that's called Reflector. What that enables me to do is, if you look down here, Reflector kind of works like an Apple TV. An Apple TV allows your iPad, or a student's iPad, or a student's iOS device. This doesn't work for Android, unfortunately, but it allows them to mirror through, and you see that, where it says Kathleen's iMac. Okay, so this is just a fictional example, of course, but that would say, for example, Jerry Bleeker's MacBook Retina. That's really neat because I can use my own iPad and my computer. If you look at this scenario right here, my computer is plugged into the projector. So what AirPlay lets me do is to send information to my computer, and the picture comes out here and the sound comes out here. So that means that my applications that are running on my iPad are basically running up on the big screen. And students can also share pictures, audio, information, because you can set a passcode to this. And this is running entirely on the public side of the network. We have our own devices, so they can't be inside the firewall. But this is starting to work pretty darn well, and it's exciting. I have to admit, for iOS devices, this is great. That's where I'm proficient. On the Android side, I'm not so sure, but we'll definitely get there too. When students are working with tablets, for example, some like to go into their own Google accounts, and they're pretty happy to work on things like Google Drive and save their projects. This works admittedly better on tablets because they're bigger, but I've seen students working with devices this big on Google Drive. And when they're working on these, I think it's pretty great. They're working, I have some little Bluetooth keyboards they can use with these. And, admittedly, what would I like? Well, of course, I'd like a tablet lab. My expertise is with Apple products. I just have always been very, very good with them. But I could work with Android products. When you put the devices in the kids' hands and let's get going. I'm a big fan of Google Chrome, so there's such amazing things you can do in the Googleverse with really a whole variance of devices, because you can put Chrome on not only this, but this, and oh yes, you can also put it on, where's my baby? There you go. You can put Chrome on this. So it's neat because it gives you sort of a common experience no matter what device you're on. Now, as we sort out FOIPA and FIPA issues, and largely that's about what districts are doing with student information and doing to preserve student information. That's true. That has to be sorted out. The students themselves already have these accounts, and they're doing their own projects on their own accounts. They've decided that's what they want to do, and they'll send me a copy or whatever and just share it with me. That's totally up to them. No account's been created for them. They're just doing what they want to do. So I wanted to point out that really it comes down to access. It's all it's all in the Wi-Fi, because if our Wi-Fi doesn't work, none of our devices are really worth a darn. And there's days where it goes down or it's bogging. And I'm the technology committee chair for College Heights Secondary School, and I have been for the better part of a decade. And what we're doing is we're working towards as seamless wireless as we possibly can. Because to make courses like this work and to provide all this digital information, for example, I'll just go into one, classifying living things. When you look at what you can make available to the students, right? These are the videos that I've recorded that they watch in the flipped classroom environment. These are the notes. They're note blanks, more or less. I provide them to the students if they want them, or they can take their own notes. If you're going to supply this, then the kids are really going to need bandwidth to get at things. If you're going to go to animations, and you're going to make that available to the kids. So if you go to some of the free brain pops, for example, and here's a McGraw-Hill one, if you're going to provide this kind of stuff, then you had better kick in bandwidth. So I'll just stop this right there. If you've ever seen brain pop, you've been there. Here's a neat classification activity, right? Admittedly, it's a little older, but kind of cute. And there's much better ones than this that we put up. There's interactivities, little sort of formative quizzes that they can try. That's some pretty neat stuff. Now, let's close a few of these down. Rather go to this. That's what I wanted. What I'm offering on YouTube is there's quite a bit going on. When you look at what you can do, I've got Biology 11 lessons here. I've got 34 videos. It's like 120 hours worth of content. I've got Biology 12 lessons, which I'm adding to. These are real-time takes, and literally they take anywhere between a half an hour to an hour. It depends. I can get long-winded, as you can tell. And some of my Math 9 stuff is sitting over here. So it's been exciting to use screencasting to provide, well, those lessons that I would offer in class, outside of the class, to the students. So that wouldn't have happened without having a tablet myself, which is more or less what I'm using to do my screencasting. Another variation of my course, this is my Biology 12 eCampusLive course. What I don't have here are all the videos that I used to teach. We have just finished the digestive system, and there's such amazing things that you can offer to students if they had their own devices, their own technology. They could review slideshows or notes or videos of me. They could go through these animations, and then afterwards we could run them through a formative assessment. And I showed that in my last video, where we could see, what is it? What do we understand? Is our understanding getting there? And have a little bit of fun, maybe even video conference with someone. That'd be pretty cool. I really like these animations that you can do with the students because they're so fabulously powerful. And this is such a great teaching tool. Biology 12, we haven't come as far as we have come in Biology 11. Specifically, I have to record the digital lessons. But in a live class, this animation is what I'm using to teach with. I'm speaking to this like crazy. And it's a huge effect. It is sort of it's a digital extension of myself. It helps me to explain. It helps me to do better work. So those are some of the goodies that we've had for a long time. And looking to class design, when I look at a class design right now, I'm in sort of a laboratory class. But when I look to designs of the future, we look at things like this, sort of these open designs with tables where kids can work. Right now, when the kids get a chance in eCampus, they can work in the library, they can work in the atrium, they work in the classroom. And this is just a fabulous opportunity. The students relish the opportunity. Oop, there we go. They love it because they really just want to spread out. They want open space to work. This idea that we all sort of line up in our desks and we just follow from an instructor, that model is changing. We're getting much more open, fewer walls, more doors, because the kids want to communicate with each other. They want to talk. They want actual light. They want to be able to go into a conference room if they're going to talk with each other. And they'll confer and they'll form groups as they need to. So it's interesting to see how they're working in my classroom, in the library, and in the atrium when they decide to immerse themselves in projects. When they're taking in the video lessons, some of them do a little bit of it from home. I leave time at school. That's why I call it eCampusLive. And when it's time for projects, we're in the lab doing the dissections and we're totally together, just like we'd never been apart. So that gives me a lot of time to work with these students and see what it is they're doing and how their teams are developing and if things are falling apart and if somebody should really just work solo and to make sure that they're on track. Anyhow, interesting when you look at the whole bring your own device classroom, how this is really opened up and the focus on the classroom. We'll go back here, right? This isn't the only space. This is just one of many spaces where they could be working. It's just in the lab. That's where I have the specimens. And if you have bandwidth, you can literally be working anywhere. And the kids are on a deadline. When you look at eCampusLive, oops, let's go here. Go up to the top. We've got a course calendar. So the students know that there are deadlines, things that they need to meet. So we'll go back a little bit here. Here we go. And you can see, for example, there's a research phase of a couple of days. They get to work on their projects. We have little quizzes for them. Make sure you have to have your notes in on the day of a quiz, right? They just had this analytic quiz basically a few days ago. And that's important because it keeps the students on point. They know that they're accountable, that they have to have their information in. And that's a good thing. It's very good. That's worked out well. That's one of the things that I've learned. Make sure that they're accountable. And we've got great links here, class blog, Idea Central, link out to the Twitter feed. We also have a digital textbook here, which I may have spoken to in one of my previous videos. The CK12 digital book is a digital accompaniment to the course. We have a course textbook, but if a student wants to use this as their digital reference, CK12 makes open source textbooks, and I'll just wait for it to download. Give this a moment to come in. But that open source textbook, that's a PDF, but I can also download it in Kindle format, or I can download it in a format for, I think it's Mobi for the iPad, mobile format, and as I said, PDF format. And the students can use that in basically any format they want. So let's see if it's still downloading in the background. My reflections on a bring your own device classroom, I mean, if I could bridge the digital divide and have what I think would make a difference, something like if you look at a Chromebook lab, we're not quite ready for this yet, but these little Chromebook laptops, Google's Chrome operating system, if you look at something like this, I'll go to view image, having something like that in the classroom, this is a Samsung variety, where the students could just grab one and it wouldn't really matter who they are. And if you've used Google Chrome or you've used Google Docs, your work is backed up and saved and you don't have to worry about it. But really, until we're ready to sort of step into this Chromiverse or this Googleverse, if you want to call it, There's other alternatives. That's a good one. If I could have anything I wanted, another idea would be something like an iPad lab. I mean, that would be wonderful. This is a, well, that's that. Yeah, it's an iPad lab with a control Apple computer on top, keeping the devices imaged and sort of up to date. That would be really, really great. Same thing if it was an Android tablet lab. More or less, you get the idea. In a bring your own device classroom, when you look at some of the lower cost devices that you could use, literally you can have, let's go back, you can have upwards of, I'll go back, I lost my Chromebooks. Go back to that. Going back to this image, the price point on these, for example, they're very inexpensive. They're between $240 and $270. So for between $10,000 and upwards of, maybe $12,000, you can have a mobile lab of these running around the school and servicing kids' needs. Perhaps one day the kids will be able to pick up their own, and it'll just be a part of their education. Their textbooks will be on there. Applications are on there. They could grab any one of these, it wouldn't really matter, and they just sign in to sort of their digital environment, and it knows about them, and it's, hi there, how are you, and here's your books, and your marks updates are here, and your teacher courses are here. We're not there yet, but in a bring your own device classroom like mine, we're trying. We're really sort of at the precipice of all of this, and I'm working towards it and supplementing with my own technology, and I will work further, apply for grants, things like that, because it's for the kids, and we're really realizing the future. I would have to say, without any reservation, that eCampus is working out really well. The kids are responding well. If you followed the blog, I've showed off student projects, and they're very, very good. I have a lot more to do in that regard. Going through all the student projects is a lot of work, but it's what you do when you have more time as an instructor to show what your students have done. It's your student projects that reflect what you've really created. It's what you're doing to help them create these projects and to learn, which is what you as the teacher have created. And that's a facilitator role, and that's something that's very new. It's not stand and deliver, and I hate the sage on the stage versus the guide on the side is such cliche, but your role as facilitator is much deeper, much richer, much more holistic, and you've really got to stay on it. It's quite challenging, but very worthwhile. Anyways, this is I'll cap it off there. This is Reflections Part 3 of Bring Your Own Technology / Bring Your Own Devices, and really kind of the future we're sort of working towards in a course like this. I could say it all comes down to bandwidth. It's fine. You could say it all comes down to access. But I think it all comes down to making a difference. And blogging about it for me is helping me to examine my own practice. So there you go. All right. This is Jerry Bleeker signing off, and thanks for listening, folks. Have a good one.